Vasel here, back with the AlphaBest, where I take my top 10 games from each letter of the alphabet. Here we get to a fun letter, the letter O. I remember back when I first did this, 13 years ago or so, and I was like, oh, I got to each letter of the alphabet, and some letters I could only get one game for, let alone 10. But now I played a lot, and there's actually some really good games that start with the letter O. Here we go. Number 10 is Organized Crime. Now this is an old game. I believe it may have first come out in the 70s. In this game, each person is a crime boss, and you roll and move. You roll dice and you're moving your guys around the board. But you're trying to get different positions of power and maybe buy up a judgeship and do this, but you need other players to support you. And so there's this back and forth and they're shooting at other players. It's mean. If I was picking mean games to go after other players, Organized Crime would certainly be up there. It's not as good as compared to games today, but there's still a lot of fun for me when I'm playing this one. Number 9 is Ora and Labora. This is from Uwe Rosenberg. I do not like this as much as his other games like Le Havre and Caverna, but it's still an incredibly solid game. It has a neat wheel mechanism where you're getting different resources. There's a ton of resources in this game. There's a ton of cards. Basically, it was like he took Agricola and Le Havre and said, you thought that was a lot of resources, here's a more. So many options in this game. It actually has the least variety of the games, but that's not really saying much. I mean, there's still a lot of variety in the game. Just a lot going on. This is some people's favorites. Maybe not so much for me, but I still enjoy it, Ora and Labora. Number 8 is Overpower. Yes, the Marvel CCG. I have a soft spot for this game, and the game is actually broken. However, the game's not broken if you just play a couple starter decks against each other. And when you play the full game of Overpower with the bidding of cards, it really is a neat thing that I haven't seen in any game since, where each turn you're basically saying, I'm going to play better than you this turn. I'm going to bet a little bit, almost a little bit of poker, but then at the same time, had a really strong superhero flair to it. Still fun. I just played it a couple weeks ago. Number 7, Odin's Ravens. This is a race game. I actually like the original Odin's Ravens a little bit more than the new one that came out, but the new one that just came out is still very solid family style game in which you're both taking a raven and trying to move and go around a terrain track, but you're manipulating the terrain so you can move faster on some parts of it than others. Very cool little 2-player game. Number 6 is another 2-player game called Oklahoma Boomers. Oklahoma Boomers is an abstract game where you're going to be putting out pieces and trying to section off parts of the board that give you, control of those sections, but you do so by placing pieces between one of yours and one of your opponents in a row/column. It's a neat abstract grid movement. There's different variants and different expansions, but the game itself is just, man, it's one of those games I played, I was like, wow, let's play it again. And I probably will. Oklahoma Boomers. Number 5 is One Night Ultimate Werewolf. I laughed at this game when it first came out, One Night Werewolf for 3 players, and then Ted Alsbach took it and ultimized it, but I still liked, it was just as good as the original one. One Night Ultimate Werewolf is a fast version of Werewolf, where players are secretly moving some cards around, and then everyone, votes once, and then you see if you're correct or not. It's quick, it's fast, it's hilarious. Sometimes not as thinky as it should be. Sometimes you're just going with a gut feeling, but the game is very entertaining. Then, just a little bit above it, number 4, One Night Revolution. Very similar to One Night Ultimate Werewolf, same designer, but based in the Resistance universe. One Night Revolution I like because in One Night Ultimate Werewolf, you have to sometimes be super quiet when you're doing things. In One Night Revolution, you can be noisy. It felt a little bit more gamery, a little bit more structured. And while my kids like One Night Ultimate Werewolf better, One Night Revolution is the one I enjoy. All right, we're up to number 3, Outfoxed. Yes, this is a kid's game. I don't care. I have had such a great experience with this game with my kids that it's all up to number 3. This is a cooperative deduction game. And I love it because I played it with my kids and they're learning deduction and they're having fun. They went and played it on their own. There's even a little bit of push your luck Yahtzee kind of stuff in it. It is a solid game, one of the best kids games to come out in years. Highly recommend it, Outfoxed. Number 2 is a game that I helped get into wide distribution, and that is Onitama. Onitama just came out from the Dice Tower Essentials line. Onitama is a game in which it's a 2-player abstract strategy game in which players are basically playing a card and that will let you move your piece and then you give that card to the middle, which your opponent can then take and play on a future turn. There's only 5 cards in the game. They're going to be different cards each time, and so it takes chess. It's not nearly as complex. It's probably not nearly as deep as chess, and yet it offers a wonderful experience. And the new version that Arcade Wonders just put out is really, really good. And my number 1 favorite game that starts with the letter O is Orleans. And this is before they even came out with the deluxe edition for Tasty Adventure, which is really nice. But Orleans is a bag pool building game where you're going to be putting tokens into a bag and then pulling them out and putting them in there to buy more tokens to put them in the bag. Really cool. It is abstract. There's not a lot of theme there, but I love the idea of the different strategies in the game. It has an expansion which has a cooperative game involved, which is amazing. But the whole experience is one of those things where I'm like, wow. The whole time I'm like, oh, what am I going to put in the bag? What am I going to buy? What strategies? It almost has a little bit of a tech tree. A great game, Orleans. Hey folks, those are my top 10 games that start with the letter O. What are yours? Tell me in the comments. Maybe I've missed something fantastic. You probably disagree, but that's fine. I'll see you next time for the letter P.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.